Well, good morning, everybody. It's Jim at Savage 4x4. Mr. Mylanta's out sick today, so I'm filling in once again for him. But anyway, a little jokes aside here. We're here, Savage 4x4, with Cheryl Rogers' little baby. We just got done. John's back here working on the gear set. Just got done putting 456 gears with a Auburn Truetrac in the front, and in the back we're doing a preloaded posi. Now John's setting up the gears, setting backlash and everything. We're just going back through it a little bit here. But got backlash at 8 thousandths basically. Sit there and measure it. Let me show you the back side of this thing here. Not the backside of John, but anyway.
Backside of me.
So, what is a preloaded posi? Uses springs to preload the clutches so that it already has traction set up for one side or the other, depending on which side is coming loose. But basically, it's preloaded, where a limited slip is not. Actually, the front is a limited slip Truetrac, which is torque sensitive. What's that mean? That means when you're articulated a little bit, or in a situation where one of the front tires is going to spin a little bit easier than the other tire, what happens is if you apply a little bit of brake pressure, sorry, trying to keep the noise down so you guys can hear me, so that it causes the Truetrac to push out on the clutches, because the spider gears are tapered in such a way as when you supply pressure to a brake on the tire that is spinning, it creates these push out effect on what we call inside here. These don't have it, but there's spider gears in the front that shows this. I'm sorry, I'm tongue-tied here. Keep hearing a little wrench in the background. I'm trying to talk over it every now and then. But there's spider gears in there, and like I said, they're tapered. When you apply pressure to a brake, it causes those spider gears to push out, which causes clutch pressure on the inside right here, which you can't see on this one because this is a posi, like I said. But anyway, that's how you have a torque-sensitive Truetrac. I highly recommend a torque-sensitive Truetrac for the front, so you don't have binding going around the corners when you're trying to turn. If you do apply a lot of pressure and you kind of want to slide around the corner, it will grab. Trust me, it will grab. But it's very road friendly. The posi in the back, rather than using a grizzly locker, a mechanical locker, or a selectable locker, is a little more forgiving on stock axles. It's kind of spongy when it engages. It'll allow it to slip if it comes in contact rather abruptly, rather than blowing out a pinion or a gear chunk or something like that, or breaking an axle even. It's a little more forgiving because the clutches give way just a little bit, but it still bites, trust me. It still bites very well. But anyway, I just wanted to give you guys an update what's going on here at Savage 4x4 today, and let you guys know the difference between an Auburn Truetrac and a posi unit that we've installed in the back of this. What's the brand name of this posi unit? It's a Yukon posi? It's a Yukon posi. Also, just so you guys know too, when you do a posi track or a limited slip, you've got to use an additive. It will cause chattering if you do not use an additive. It's basically like a synthetic or a, they call it like a fish oil. If you read the little label here, prevents chattering and jerking and slipping. It's true. It does. It really, really does. So anyway, setting these gears up, we have basically about 15 to 18 pounds of pressure at 18 inches, 12 inches to 18 inches, which is the preload on the pinion, which is on this side. What it does is it sets up the pinion to have a good amount of load on it so that it breaks in the bearings. The bearings will lose a little bit of surface area on them when they break in due to heat and just break-in period. So you will have a little bit of debris that'll build up down in the bottom end between the bearings, a little bit on the bearings, not a whole lot, because it is a chrome moly based setup. Most of the wear that you get is from where it starts to break in on the teeth, so it becomes meshed. These gears are premium gears. and I'm reading comments. Oh, no blinker fluid, Joseph. You butthead. Anyway, Yukon Premium gears are soft. What that means is it's a steel that is not nearly, it hasn't been tempered. So what happens is it's not nearly as hard as a pre-hardened setup. You actually break the gears in to match the way the carrier is designed. Even though these carriers are designed and machined, I mean, a hair, a 1/1000th of an inch difference here and there, even less than that, can make a difference on how the teeth wear. So if you buy a pre-hardened set of gears, basically what that means is they're not typically going to break in. I bet these probably break in probably a good 60 to 70% more than a set of pre-hardened gears. Once you start breaking them in, what happens is it wears away material, creates a footprint on the heel and the toe side, or the coast and the drive side, and what happens is it gives you a pattern that matches the pinion up inside, keeps them nice and quiet. It's the best way to have a good quiet set of gears if you break them in per axle. And they cannot be changed from one differential to another and expect quietness. I don't care what anybody tells you. The pre-hardened gears are already been tempered, they're already been hardened, and they tend sometimes, even though we get a good footprint, which you can see some paint on here, we paint these things, we've already washed some of it away, but we paint these things to mark a footprint on both sides so that we know how centered up the gear on the pinion is on the gear teeth here. But what happens is, if you, like I said, back to the pre-hardened, when it's pre-hardened, it pretty much has, I don't want to say a pattern on it, but it's kind of made to match is what it is. It is what it is. And the chances of you having a little bit of hum, maybe a whistle or a little bit of a roar, that's part of the pre-hardened situation. So we tend to go with Yukon Premium. We tell the customers 500 miles, you got to break them in. You got to break them in at not using a fast rate of speed, not pushing the throttle really hard. I don't like seeing anything over 45 miles an hour, no more than a 20-mile burst. Up and down in speed, you always change your speed. If you must go more than 20 miles, you have to stop and let them cool down for about an hour. And then you heat them back up, and then you let them cool down, and then you heat them back up, and you let them cool down. That's tempering them, and also it wears a pattern on them, specifically your Jeep, not anybody else's. The pattern is completely different. So everything comes up shim difference. But anyway, just kind of wanted to give you a ballpark of what's going on, describe to you about gear ratios. I don't know if I say anything about gear ratios, but the way the break-in of the gears go. Basically, she's got 456 gears, which means for every 4.56 turns of an axle, you have 1 turn of your drive shaft. So basically, it's like 4.5 to 1, for a better word. So anyway, just kind of letting you know what's going on here at Savage 4x4 today. You guys have a wonderful day, and check in next time. Bye-bye.